throwaway for obvious reasons. So I, female, 23, just discovered my Uncle Frank, male 47, has been using my identity to open credit cards, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. This is going to be long, sorry, but I need to get this all out. Frank has always been like the family charmer, I guess. He's had so many business ideas over the years, and they literally never work out. There was this food truck thing that lasted maybe 3 months. Then some drop shipping scheme where he ended up owing money to like 5 different suppliers. My mom, Pamela, female, 52, always says he's just ahead of his time, but honestly, he's just bad with money. About 6 months ago, his latest thing crashed hard. He'd gotten into cryptocurrency and somehow convinced a bunch of neighbors and friends to invest with him. Like $8,000 total that he lost when everything went to shit. I mean, I tried to warn people, but nobody listens to the 23-year-old about financial stuff, you know. So now he's been living in my parents' basement, and it's a lot. My mom has been stress baking elaborate desserts every single night, and my dad, Shane, male, 55, just disappears to the garage to build increasingly weird birdhouses whenever Frank starts talking. I swear he's made like 15 birdhouses since Frank moved in. Anyway, a few weeks ago, Frank approached me asking for a $3,000 loan to tide him over until his next opportunity. His exact words, ugh. During this conversation, he kept mentioning stuff about my salary and he knew specifics. Turns out my mom had been bragging about my recent promotion to marketing coordinator and mentioned actual numbers. But then it got weird. He started asking all these questions about my living expenses and credit score. Said he was just impressed by my financial responsibility. But the questions were so specific. Like he wanted to know my monthly rent, car payment, even asked about my credit limit. I felt super uncomfortable, but didn't want to be rude, you know. I ended up refusing the loan, obviously, and suggested he get a stable job instead. Pointed out his track record with business ventures isn't exactly great. Frank got all huffy and complained to my mom about my selfishness. My mom called me that same evening to lecture me about family loyalty. She said Frank is going through a rough patch and needs support, not criticism. Then she casually mentioned, and I'm still furious about this, that she gave Frank my apartment address so he could send me a proper thank you card if I changed my mind about the loan. Who does that? Who gives out their adult daughter's address without asking? So of course, Frank started using my address for business mail and credit applications. Packages kept showing up, and when I confronted him, he was like, "Families should help each other." And then, this still makes me sick, he mentioned he remembers my social security number from helping with family tax preparation when I was in college. The packages turned out to be unrelated business junk mail at first, but I started monitoring my credit anyway. I was in college. That was years ago. Why would he remember that? 2 weeks after that conversation, my mom decided to make Frank's stay in the basement permanent. And get this, she expected me to give up my childhood bedroom during visits to deal with the new setup. I refused. Told them Frank could sleep on the couch like any other guest. My mom accused me of being selfish and asked what happened to the caring daughter I raised. My dad just sat there making practical suggestions about following proper procedures, but wouldn't touch the emotional stuff. Though I noticed him watching Frank with this skeptical look lately. Last night, everything came crashing down. My phone started buzzing with fraud alerts from my bank. Multiple notifications about suspicious credit inquiries. At first I thought it was spam, but then I recognized my bank's actual alert system. I logged into my credit monitoring app. I've been checking it obsessively since Frank started acting suspicious. The credit report showed 3 new credit cards opened in my name. 3, with a total of $12,000 in charges. I scrolled through the detailed charges and my stomach just dropped. There was a $400 charge at a strip club. A fucking strip club. He used my identity for degrading personal entertainment, not just emergency expenses like I might have. I don't know, maybe understood if he was desperate. I was shaking, literally shaking. I called Frank immediately. My hands were trembling so bad I could barely dial. He answered all cheerful, asking if I'd reconsidered the loan. I confronted him directly about the credit cards, the $12,000, the strip club charge. Frank paused for like 10 seconds, then claimed I gave him permission during some family dinner conversation about helping with his debt. This conversation never happened. I would remember agreeing to let someone open credit cards in my name, right? I told him I was filing a police report. He got all defensive, started accusing me of trying to destroy the family over money, and demanded I think about what this will do to Mom. Then he hung up on me. I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. typing this because I can't sleep. Frank is still living comfortably in my parents' basement while I'm facing $12,000 in fraudulent debt that will probably take months to sort out with the credit companies. My mom is going to be devastated when she finds out. She loves Frank so much, and this will destroy her image of him. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting by planning to file criminal charges against family. But this isn't borrowing $20 from my purse. This is serious identity theft. I know this sounds completely insane, but now I'm thinking about all the weird stuff Frank did. The questions about my finances, getting my address, remembering my social security number. Was he planning this the whole time? I don't even know anymore. Am I crazy for wanting to press charges against my own uncle? Edit 1. Since people are asking, yes, I'm filing the police report first thing Monday morning. I already froze my credit and called the banks to dispute the charges. The strip club charge is what really gets me. If you're gonna steal from family, at least don't use it for something that disgusting. Edit 2. To everyone asking about my parents, I haven't told them yet. My mom is going to be absolutely heartbroken and will probably blame herself for giving him my address. My dad will just retreat to the garage and build more birdhouses. I'm dreading this conversation more than anything. Edit 3. For those wondering why I didn't see this coming sooner, Frank has always been charming, and my mom constantly makes excuses for him. It's easy to say I should have known better, but when it's family, you want to believe the best you know. I feel stupid for not protecting myself better, but hindsight is 2020. Now for the first update. Okay, there's so much to unpack since my last post. Seriously, this whole situation just keeps getting more fucked up. So many of you told me to file the police report immediately, which I did Monday morning, like I said. But Frank, he didn't just disappear into the basement like I hoped. Oh no. 2 weeks after everything went down, this motherfucker shows up at my apartment, unannounced, with his wife Rebecca. I'm just sitting there in my pajamas eating cereal for dinner. Don't judge me, it's been a rough few weeks, and there's this knock on my door. I look through the peephole, and it's Frank, with this woman I barely recognize. I've met Rebecca maybe 3 times at family stuff, but we've never really talked, Frank starts talking about needing to clear the air, and Rebecca is just standing there, clutching this massive purse super tight, looking uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact with me. I should have known something was weird about that purse thing, but honestly, I was too shocked to think straight, so I let them in. I know, stupid move, but they're family and I wasn't thinking clearly. Frank immediately goes into this whole explanation about how he borrowed the money during a family emergency, while conveniently leaving out how he'd been redirecting mail to my address without my knowledge, which I discovered when suspicious packages started arriving. Not stole, borrowed. That makes it better somehow. He keeps saying he was planning to tell me and pay me back before I noticed, what? And that he just made a poor decision under pressure. The whole time he's talking, Rebecca is just sitting there on my couch looking like she wants to disappear. And I'm thinking why did he bring her if she's just gonna sit there silent? Then Frank pulls out this piece of paper. I swear to God it looked like he printed it at the library with a payment plan, $200 a month for 5 years. He's all proud of himself, this proves his good intentions and that family should work things out privately instead of involving police. I told him this is $12,000 of identity theft, and he used my information to go to a strip club. This isn't borrowing $20 for gas. But then, and oh my God, this gets worse, there's another knock and my mom shows up. Turns out Frank invited her without telling me. She just walks into my apartment already doing her mediator voice, talking about everyone sharing feelings and finding common ground. I swear my mom thinks every problem can be solved with guidance counselor techniques and organic tea. It's fucking exhausting. So now I've got Frank, Rebecca, and my mom in my living room, and Frank starts repeating his whole sob story about desperate decisions and family emergencies. My mom is nodding along this all makes perfect sense. But then I ask Rebecca directly when Frank started using my address for mail. Rebecca goes completely pale and looks at Frank like she's asking for permission to speak, which should have been red flag number 1, but whatever. She says, and her voice is all shaky, that the address thing started in early spring, months before the crypto thing crashed. Frank immediately tries to interrupt, claiming Rebecca is confused about the timeline, but I keep pressing. I ask Rebecca about the first packages that arrived, and she gives me specific details. Like she remembers the exact date in March when Frank redirected some business mail to my place. Frank is scrambling, trying to call this preparation for business correspondence. But my mom looks confused and asks him to explain why he needed my address months before his emergency. And Frank just loses it, starts accusing me of making Rebecca uncomfortable with aggressive questioning and how I'm betraying family trust. But I finally understood. This wasn't desperation after his failure. He was planning this fraud while he was still convincing people to invest in cryptocurrency, while he was still acting like the charming family success story. Rebecca looked like she was going to throw up. My mom was trying to mediate, but even she seemed confused by Frank's contradictory explanations. They left after like an hour of Frank getting increasingly angry and my mom promising to follow up on this situation later. That night, my dad calls, which is weird because he never calls, just texts, and suggests I consider Frank's payment plan for family harmony. But his voice sounded different, like someone coached him on what to say. He mentioned Frank had been very persuasive with Mom about keeping this quiet. Then the next day, Rebecca calls me while Frank is at a job interview. Guys, Rebecca has been secretly consulting a divorce attorney. She tells me Frank has been draining her nursing income for his ventures, and she's at her breaking point. But here's the really fucked up part. Frank has been showing off his purchases to their neighbors and claiming his niece invested in his future when they ask about his lifestyle improvements. Like he's using ME as his cover story for why he suddenly has money for expensive dinners and new clothes. But then, because apparently this nightmare has no bottom, I'm at coffee with my cousin Tony last weekend, and Tony casually mentions that Frank visited our aunt's house recently. She's all excited telling me about Frank's new venture and how he mentioned having family backing from his first investor. My coffee cup literally froze halfway to my mouth. I asked Tony what exactly Frank said about our partnership, and she describes this whole pitch Frank gave about expanding his business with more family investors, how my investment proved the business was legitimate and profitable. I'm sitting there realizing Frank is using my reputation and the lie about me investing to build credibility with other family members. Tony mentions our elderly Uncle Billy seemed interested and asked for Frank's business plan. I felt like I was going to throw up in the middle of this coffee shop. Frank isn't just stealing from me. He's using the fake story about me investing to potentially defraud other family members who trust my judgment. I told Tony immediately that no partnership exists and she needs to warn Uncle Billy. But she looked so confused, asking if I'm not actually investing in Frank's business. And that's when I realized filing a police report isn't enough. Frank has created this whole narrative with the family about me being his business partner. And with Thanksgiving coming up, where Frank has been hinting about announcing his next big venture with his family investors' support, I think I know what I need to do. Frank wants to use me as his credibility prop. Fine. Let him commit to his lies publicly in front of the whole family. Then I'll reveal the truth with witnesses watching. I'm nervous as hell about the family fallout. But honestly, how many more people is he going to target if I don't stop this now? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too dramatic, but this feels like the only way to protect everyone else you know. Edit 1. To everyone asking if I've warned other family members yet, I told Tony about Uncle Billy, but I'm worried if I start calling everyone, Frank will get suspicious and change his plans. I think letting him announce publicly and then revealing the truth will be more effective. Edit 2. For those wondering about Rebecca, she seems genuinely shocked by how deep Frank's lies go. She's been working extra shifts to support his business ventures, while he's been lying to her about where the money is coming from. I actually feel bad for her. Edit 3. Yes, I still filed the police report and disputed all charges. The detective said fraud cases take months to process, but my credit is slowly being restored. The strip club charge got reversed first, probably because it was the most obviously fraudulent. Edit 4. Some of you are asking why I don't just expose Frank now instead of waiting for Thanksgiving. Honestly, because my family doesn't listen to me when I have concerns about Frank. They always make excuses for him. But if he lies publicly and I have evidence ready, they can't rationalize it away. Edit 5. To whoever asked if I'm recording conversations with Frank, no, because I live in a two-party consent state. But I am screenshotting all his text messages and keeping detailed notes about everything he says in case I need them for the criminal case. Now for the second update. I woke up to like 500 messages asking for updates. So here we are. Thanksgiving happened. And honestly, I don't even know where to start because everything just completely fell apart in the most spectacular way possible. Like I knew this was going to be messy, but Jesus Christ, I wasn't prepared for how bad it would get. So Frank had been building up to his big announcement for weeks. Seriously, weeks. He kept texting the family group chat about his exciting news and how grateful he was for family support during his transition. My mom was getting so excited, thinking he finally had his life together. God, I feel awful about that part now. The whole dinner, he's acting like this confident businessman, wearing this new suit that probably cost more than my rent, with my fucking money, obviously. Making small talk about market opportunities and networking. Rebecca looked uncomfortable the entire time, but I thought maybe she was just nervous about whatever Frank was planning to announce. After we finish eating, Frank stands up and raises his wine glass like he's giving some corporate toast. He starts thanking everyone for believing in him during his challenging transition period and talks about how family support means everything. Then he specifically mentions my generous investment in his new consulting venture and how my faith in his vision gave him the confidence to move forward. The whole table is smiling and nodding. My mom looks so proud. She's practically glowing, thinking her brother finally has his shit together and her daughter helped make it happen. But I couldn't let him keep lying. Not to their faces. Not when he was using me as his credibility. So I interrupt, probably too loudly, and ask when exactly I agreed to provide this funding, since I don't recall any such conversation. Frank pauses for like 3 seconds, but keeps that confident smile. He starts describing some vague conversation about family helping family, and how during one of our recent talks, I agreed to support his transition into consulting. This conversation never happened. I ask for specific details. When did this conversation happen? Where were we? What exactly did I agree to invest? Frank gets more general, talking about multiple discussions over recent months and how we'd been exploring partnership opportunities. But honestly, his explanations were getting more and more vague. That's when I pulled out my phone and showed everyone my recent credit monitoring alerts. The table went dead silent. I asked Frank if the unauthorized credit cards opened in my name were related to his family funding. Asked if the $12,000 in charges, including a strip club, were part of our business partnership. Frank's face went completely white. He started stammering about misunderstandings and how things got complicated, but he could explain everything. Rebecca's expression just changed. You could see the exact moment she realized the scope of Frank's public lying. She quietly asked him to explain the strip club charge, since he told her the money was for legitimate business expenses. Frank tried to deflect by accusing me of trying to embarrass him in front of family, but then my dad spoke up. My dad, who never gets involved in conflict, just said, "Identity theft is a serious crime, Frank. If you've done what Marie is describing, you need to be honest about it immediately." Frank's explanations became increasingly contradictory as he tried to maintain different versions of events at the same time. Like he forgot which lies he'd told to which people and was just making shit up on the spot. Then Rebecca calmly set down her fork and looked directly at Frank. She announced she was driving herself home separately and staying at her sister's house. Frank panicked, started begging her not to make any hasty decisions, and that they could work through this misunderstanding. Rebecca said, "Discovering your husband is a public liar and identity thief isn't a hasty decision." Frank turned back to me and desperately offered to pay me back immediately. With what money? Frank, with what money? But I pointed out he obviously doesn't have $12,000 to pay anyone back. That's when he got angry and accused me of planning this humiliation. Said I was trying to destroy him in front of the family. So I simply stated that I had filed the police report the previous Monday morning. His face went white, like he finally realized the legal consequences were already in motion. Frank stormed out claiming I had destroyed the family, but honestly, his dramatic exit just confirmed his guilt to everyone who witnessed the exchange. My mom initially tried to follow him, but my dad gently stopped her and said they needed to process what just happened first. The rest of dinner was awkward, doesn't even cover it. Everyone just sat there, trying to understand how Frank had been lying to all of us for months. Later that night, my mom called crying. Actually crying and apologizing for enabling Frank's behavior and not believing my concerns about his manipulation. She feels horrible about giving him my address and basically setting up the whole fraud situation. My dad privately told me he was proud of me for standing up for myself. Admitted he suspected something was wrong, but avoided confronting it because conflict makes him uncomfortable. But guys, it gets worse. This week, Rebecca filed for divorce and a restraining order. Turns out her attorney did an asset investigation and discovered Frank had been forging her signature on loan applications for months. She had no idea about most of his debt. Through our family text chain, Tony reported that Frank has been contacting extended family members asking for loans and claiming I betrayed him after he trusted me with his business. Like he's still trying to manipulate people even after being exposed. But then extended family started comparing notes about Frank's different stories and realized the pattern of manipulation he'd used on everyone. His reputation crumbled across our entire family network in like 3 days. The police investigation, combined with credit card fraud departments, uncovered that Frank used information from at least 3 family members for various financial schemes. Not just me, 3 people. My mom has started therapy to address her enabling patterns. She wants to develop better strategies for setting boundaries with manipulative family members. Frank keeps sending increasingly desperate text messages, offering various payment plans, and threatening to expose my vindictive behavior to extended family. He doesn't realize everyone already knows the truth, and most of them are horrified by what he did. His background check for a new apartment revealed the pending fraud charges, so he's effectively homeless with destroyed credit and family relationships. And honestly, I feel conflicted about watching someone lose everything. Like, I know he brought this on himself, but watching someone's entire life fall apart is still hard to witness, you know? The criminal case is ongoing, and my credit is slowly being restored. Some family relationships are still strained. A few relatives think I should have handled this privately, but most people understand why I had to stop him publicly. I'm still processing the reality that someone I trusted could lie to and steal from me while maintaining such a convincing act of family loyalty. But at least it's over. Frank can't hurt anyone else in our family now, I think. I hope anyway. Edit. 1. Since people keep asking, no, Frank hasn't been arrested yet, but the detective said that's normal for financial crimes. The credit card companies are cooperating with the investigation, and my charges have been mostly reversed. 2. To those wondering about Rebecca, she's staying with her sister indefinitely and seems relieved to be away from Frank's chaos. She thanked me for exposing the truth because she was starting to think she was going crazy with all his lies. Number 3. For everyone saying I should feel good about destroying Frank, it's complicated. Okay. Yes, he's a criminal and deserved consequences. But watching your uncle become homeless and lose everything is still emotionally difficult, even when you know it's justified.